All right, my 10-1s, welcome to our Intro to Shakespeare class. We're going to be studying Romeo and Juliet. I know, it's very exciting. So starting with your table groups, I want to know, what do you already know about Shakespeare and or Romeo and Juliet? So just take a couple minutes, discuss, and then we'll go around and discuss with each other. You guys had some really great answers, but here's a little summary that I've come up with. So who is he? William Shakespeare is that lovely, handsome man at the top of your screen. He was alive during the 16th century and into the early 17th century. He was a poet, playwright, and actor, born in Stratford-upon-Avon, England, which sounds made up, I know, but I promise you it's not. He married a woman named Anne Hathaway, not this one, a different one, obviously. He died in 1616 at the ripe old age of 52 years old, which was actually the normal life expectancy for the 16th and 17th century, just because of lack of healthcare and overall lack of hygiene, etc., etc. So what did he do? He wrote 37 plays and 154 sonnets. Like I said before, we're going to study Romeo and Juliet, which is actually one of his most famous works and has been adapted in many ways into a ballet, into movies, into different plays, and into some unique projects, including this advertisement that I'll show you here.
Romeo.
Juliet.
I love you.
Ditto.
Die! Marry him!
Never.
No! You!
Better now. No.
Kiss.
Alright, so that was just a little adaptation that somebody made to promote a really old technology, walkie-talkie phones. Romeo and Juliet takes place in Verona, Italy, which is in the northern part of Italy. There you can see it on the map on the screen. Verona is a real place. The Montague and the Capulet families were real families in Italy during the time of Romeo and Juliet. Even though the story is fiction, some of the aspects of the story are nonfiction. And you can still go there and do a Romeo and Juliet tour, including seeing the balcony, where the famous balcony scene, I believe it's Act 2, takes place. So here's a big question, which most of you will ask and will ask and ask and ask as you continue to learn Shakespeare through high school and even into university. Why are we still studying him? He's been dead for hundreds of years, and he's just a British guy, and so why do we study him? Mainly because of the storylines. His plays are famous. We still study them because, well, we just do. And his storylines have unfolded into some of the greatest works on earth. The Lion King, one of my all-time favorite movies. Is everyone familiar with that? Great. Yeah, The Lion King was actually a spin-off, or not a spin-off, but derived roughly off of Shakespeare's Hamlet. Very roughly, obviously, because Hamlet has no mention of lions. Also, She's the Man. Has anybody seen this one? Might be a bit before your time. Really good chick flick with Amanda Bynes, and this is pretty much a summary of the play here. Duke wants Olivia, who likes Sebastian, who's really Viola, whose brother's dating Monique, so she hates Olivia, who's with Duke to make Sebastian jealous, who's really Viola, who's crushing on Duke, who thinks he's a guy. And actually, that crazy storyline is pretty close to the storyline in Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. So yeah, his work has inspired some great other work. Another reason we study Shakespeare is because he revolutionized grammar and syntax. He utilized iambic pentameter, which we'll go into more in detail next day. But yeah, he made up a bunch of words, and there's lists and lists and lists of the words that he made up, but he was pretty great at what he did. And finally, we study Shakespeare because his work really does touch on important issues that are still important today. Othello is one of the first early literature mentions of race in a way that was not directly slavery. Obviously language. Corruption of power is seen in Macbeth and many, many other of Shakespeare's 37 plays. There's also mention of deceit, and then the all-important gender roles, which we will talk about a bit in Romeo and Juliet. But yeah, his stories touch on issues that are still really important, and we'll do a bit of compare and contrast with some modern day examples of themes that are found in Romeo and Juliet. And finally, everyone's going to maybe struggle, if you've never read Shakespeare before, you might struggle with some of the language at first. Luckily, there are tools that we are going to be using, such as SparkNotes and No Fear Shakespeare, and there's actually an app that will translate specific paragraphs or clips of text from Shakespeare into modern day English, and so we might utilize that a little bit too, just so everybody knows what he's talking about. But it's not that weird. We have slang too. We have different words too. You guys say things are on fleek and things are lit and that you're hanging with bae. Like, I don't know what those mean, but apparently you do. And here's just a fun thing for you guys. List of Shakespearean insults. So if you need an insult that's school appropriate, actually, you just shouldn't insult people in school, but you could call somebody a churlish clapper-clawed giglet, just in case you needed a new burn for your bestie.